So, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, both here at the Palais d'Europe and to those following online. Welcome to this press conference with the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Mr. Alain Berset. The Secretary General will first begin with a statement about the informal ministerial conference that has just ended, and after that we will take your questions. Secretary General, please.
So, thank you very much, Ali. Good afternoon. I want first, at this stage, thank all the 46 member states and their ministers to the engagement in today's ministerial conference here in Strasbourg. This presence and at the highest level demonstrates that the structured political dialogue is not only possible, it is essential in these conditions. And as we know, dialogue is pleasant when we all agree, but it becomes indispensable when we face hard truths and difficult choices together. So we held this morning a frank and substantive dialogue about migration and human rights within the framework of the European Convention on Human Rights, and we have brought this debate to where it belongs, here, that means here at the Council of Europe. Let me maybe tell you why. The Council of Europe is Europe's leading human rights institution. This organization was not created for fair weather. It was forged in the aftermath of the Second World War precisely to protect rights and dignity when times are hardest. And make no mistake, Europe is facing hard times right now. And that is exactly why this institution exists, and that is why this meeting matters. Now about the European Convention on Human Rights. It is the constitutional bedrock of Europe's legal order. It is the ultimate safeguard of individual rights and freedoms for citizens across our continent. And it is also, and it was also said this morning, it is also a living instrument. It has guided us through periods of profound change. Let's think about just the Cold War, through the Cold War, the fall of the Berlin Wall, and every major transformation since 1950, and the new world order we are facing. The outcome of today's meeting is clear. Ministers have supported the four-point plan, and they called for the preparation of political declaration on migration and European Convention on Human Rights to be adopted in Chisinau, Moldova, in May 2026. And this declaration will accomplish two essential objectives. First, it will reaffirm our obligation to ensure the effective enjoyment of the rights and freedoms guaranteed by the Convention to everyone within our jurisdiction. And second, it will recognize governments' fundamental responsibility to safeguard national vital interests such as security and public safety. And these are not contradictory principles. They must and they can also be reconciled. In addition, ministers have supported the elaboration of a new recommendation on deterring and fighting migrant smuggling with full respect for human rights. So, and it was decided on a consensus basis this morning. This is really the starting of a process on a consensus basis. That's the most important point for today. And to be really clear on this, all 46 member states have reaffirmed their deep and abiding commitment to both the European Convention on Human Rights and the European Court of Human Rights. And this is not rhetoric. This is not rhetoric. It is a political decision of the highest order. But ministers have also expressed their concerns regarding the unprecedented challenges posed by migration and the serious questions governments face in maintaining societies that deliver for citizens. I just want, before to stop this introductory remarks, address the European Court of Human Rights directly. The independence and impartiality of the European Court of Human Rights are fundamental to justice in 46 member countries. They are what gives the Convention its strength and credibility, and they are what allows governments and citizens to trust the Convention and to trust that the Convention will protect them from abuse. But the Convention system thrives on dialogue, and today's conference proves that when states come together in good faith, we can address even the most complex challenges while preserving the integrity of our shared legal framework. So, to stop now, today we have taken an important first step forward together. What does it mean? It means that today is the initiation of a process in the Council of Europe, addressing the elements that I mentioned before, and leading to Chisinau in May 2026. The work continues, and I look forward in my function to advancing this dialogue at the international level in the month ahead. So I thank you for your attention, and I will be also happy to answer some questions.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. And now the floor is open. Your questions, please use the microphone that my colleague will be distributing, and there's also a chance to ask online. First question goes to Joshua Rosenbrand, the next one to Telegraph, James Crisp. Go ahead.
Secretary General, this meeting started with the letter of the 9. Am I right in thinking that the 9 have become the 27? That there are now 27 countries which have joined Denmark and Italy in going further than the conference has gone today?
I would say that in any sense, 46 member states are confronted with migration issues, with the political discussion on migration, and to know how many member states are joining a declaration for this morning doesn't matter that lot, if I may be so clear. Because what matters is to agree on the way we want to follow together to be able to make what we always had, to have a living instrument and to have a priority for dialogue and to tackle together the issues that we are facing, that our member states are facing, that our governments, that our population in the 46 member states are facing. That's exactly the point, and that's why I make the difference between, this declaration. It is a contribution in the debate. It was an interesting discussion this morning with diverse views, but at the same time, we have a conclusion adopted in a consensus way. That means 46 member states are supporting this conclusion and engaging together to have this work made in the next few months. That means we had, yes, it started with a letter of 9, then we had different discussions. It will continue on this way, The point will be to see if we are able to define a way to addressing migration issues on a consensual basis, protecting the court and protecting the convention.
Thank you. And Telegraph, James Crisp, please.
Thank you. James Crisp from the Telegraph. Secretary General, does this political declaration and new recommendation mean, in your view, that the European Convention itself does not have to be rewritten? And do you believe that these warm words will be enough to quell those political parties in Britain who are calling for a Brexit, if you like, from the Council of Europe?
First point, the most important point is to be able to deliver also for the governments facing challenges, facing also quite sometimes difficult internal political debate, and we know this. And migration, as I mentioned before, is a reality in all member states. Doesn't mean we've always the same answers, but it is a reality everywhere. That's the first point. The second point, we should accept, that there is a certain complexity in all those issues. It is not digital. It is not 1 or 0. It is not rewrite or not rewrite. The question is not this, if I may be so clear. The question is, what should we do to make sure that what protects us? The convention, since 75 years, and I asked this morning, who could say that the convention never helped his country in a difficult moment in the room? Nobody. Because it was essential to have, this convergence between all the European countries. It's exactly what makes us as a one continent, and not just an addition of countries not working together. We need also to preserve this. That means what? We are heading not something different that you found in the conclusion, to a political declaration to a political declaration. We have some also experience in this in the past, the Council of Europe, and it has always been possible with this to deliver also for facing issues, as we have with migration right now. And I don't want to, how to say this, to predict what will exactly happen in the work that we are facing for the next few months. We will have this afternoon at the Committee of Ministers the next step, taking decisions how to organize the work between the 46 member states in the next few weeks and months, and then we will see, have the next occasion in Chisinau to see the results and how we continue to work together. And about you, the second part of the question was about, so you mentioned Brexit, if I understand.
Are political declarations enough to convince the Conservatives and Reform UK that they should not Brexit?
You know, I think I'm strongly convinced that the first element, not to jump into the conclusion, the first element is to do the best possible job, seeing that we have with the Convention a very strong instrument that delivered a lot in the last 75 years, but at the same time we have new concerns because we are facing real and big challenges and changes in the world, and migration issues are one of those concerns. Let us start doing a good job, and then we will see what it means as a conclusion. But it will be always, you know, a question of the balance, to see the advantage, to see the point that we need to manage together, and to try the best way to have stability, because it is exactly what we are looking for. What do we need on the European continent right now? To have a positive development, to have perspective for our population, for the next generation. We need stability again and predictability about what will happen, also regarding migration and other issues. Let us work, and we will have the occasion. It is an ongoing work, you know, occasion to see before to conclude what we have, and then we will have a discussion on the conclusion.
Thank you. And the next question goes to news agency ANSA. Go ahead.
Thank you. Samantha Groff from ANSA. I wanted to ask, so in your view, the states are asking no changes to the Convention of Human Rights. Is that correct?
I mean, I think this morning it was not a discussion and not intervention asking for changing the convention. It was the start of a process on a consensus basis, because it is the only way to make some progress. I mean, we want to deliver, we want to be productive. We don't want just to have statements and to deliver nothing. It is exactly what we don't want to have. We need to have some progress, and we need also to not to forget what we had as experience in the past, making from the convention as a living instrument. Please never forget, the convention was written in 1950. I mean, it was before artificial intelligence, social media, before a lot of things, before mobile phone, and it is delivering until today, because it is possible to adapt and to have this living instrument and this living instrument developing. That means the question will be to start with the declaration, to start with the work on the conclusions, and we are really happy to have this agreement on a consensual basis to work. But as I mentioned before, we initiate today a process in the context of the Council of Europe, and we will work on it. It will start very soon, and then, next possible meeting to see where we are and what it means. It may be probably in Chisinau on May 26.
Then we have a couple of questions online from Channel 4 News, the UK. How concerned are you by discussion in the UK about not just reforming the ECHR, but leaving the convention altogether? And a follow-up, to what extent has today's discussion moved the debate forward?
Alors, 2 points. The first point, I mean, we should always think about what the convention delivered for all member states, and it also for UK. I mean, it was also mentioned this morning how important the convention at the Council of Europe is for the Good Friday Agreement and stability for the concerned countries. Never forget this. Never forget that some important rights, I think the rights to privacy, was the result of a decision taken by the court in Strasbourg based on a British citizen coming here. I think, I'm not sure, but we have a lot of rights coming from decisions here protecting really important rights for all citizens. That's the first element. Second element about leaving the convention, you know, I mean, it will always, I can understand, you know, I come from political context. I mean, I understand how it works. I can understand the discussion, but I mean, in the world that we are witnessing today, the point we should always ask is, if we do something, what will we receive for this as a result? Where will we have positive outcome, or well, will it deliver something new that we are not having now? That's the point. It's really concrete. And it will be, I hope, based on facts, the real discussion that we will have, and also at the political level. So in other words, I think, let us work together, also in close contacts with the United Kingdom. Let us try together to find a good way to make sure that this convergence that makes us as one continent continue to work. And if at the end we are not happy with the result, we will see if it's possible to have new avenues for working, and what it means also in the internal debate in UK. But I think that the debates that we will have in this context, based on those elements, is not really to compare with what we witnessed in the last years about Brexit, if I may be so clear.
Thank you. We have time for one or two questions. The gentleman in the first row, and then AFP, please.
Mohammed Bagher Sabah from the Danish media Zetland. Mr. General Secretary, you've underlined multiple times today that the court itself is legitimate, independent, but isn't it the court's action itself that more and more countries are criticizing, and not the conventions themselves?
Let us make this discussion and continue on this, but I'm also noting that the countries or where we have some criticism against the European Court on Human Rights, it is also in the same places that we don't have that much criticism against the national courts. Obviously, because we are just working for, you know, a good separation of powers, and to have the independence of the judiciary. And it was exactly the point I wanted to underline. We are working at the Council of Europe for a lot of member states, countries, to improve, you know, to have a clear independence of the judiciary. It is not possible at the same time to target directly the court. That's why I was thinking, if we want, and we want to have this discussion on migration, it is a legitimate discussion, then let us start this discussion at the political level. That means not outside of the Council of Europe, not having a discussion about the Council of Europe in other parts of Europe, but not here, first point. And second point, not at the court, but at the Committee of Ministers. That's exactly the reason that why we had been working in this room this morning. And it is exactly the reason because why I decided with the President of the Court not to invite the Court and the President to participate to this meeting. We need to make sure that the independence of the judiciary will be preserved, impartiality of the court, but at the same time, we must be able to address all issues, including the most difficult issues, including migration. Thank you.
And one last question, please.
Thank you, Jonathan Vijayaratne from AFP. In light of comments made by the Commissioner for Human Rights this morning about attempts to interfere with international law, would you argue that the demands made by the Group of 27 do not pose a threat to the independence of the court and the observation of the convention itself?
That would be exactly the way that we must find. Be able to address political issues like migration, but not undermining international law and not undermining the principles that make that we have stability, the rule of law, and a good protection for human rights. It doesn't mean that nothing is possible to move. It doesn't mean that the world has not changed. I mean, it is changing, it is evolving. We are in movement constantly. And also the court. Also the interpretation of the convention. But it is the role of the court to doing this. You know, those judges to the European Court on Human Rights, like other courts, they are not living on Mars. They are here. They read papers. They see also what's happening in the society, and they are here exactly also to take this in account in order then independently with impartiality to take decisions. That means, for me, it must be possible. It's exactly the way that we need to find. I don't have the word in English. In German, we will speak of Gratwanderung. It is un chemin de crête en français. You know what I mean? It's exactly the same. It would be exactly the same in English. I would find the translation this afternoon on this.
Thank you, Secretary General. Thank you, dear participants. I'm afraid we must conclude this press conference due to time constraints. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.